Hi, folks. My name is Dan Other. I'm the Executive Director of the American Academy of Environmental Engineers and Scientists, and we are so excited to have you here for our conversation around how to volunteer with the Academy. We've got some fantastic panelists here to be discussing this along with me, and what we're going to do is learn how a few of our Academy volunteers began with the Academy and in their role as volunteers. We're going to hear from them about how their work makes a difference. And then we're going to look at what steps you can take to secure a leadership role within the American Academy of Environmental Engineers and Scientists. Now, one of the things that we always do when our event is start with some opening and start with some agenda and start with some thanks. And I'm going to actually go back a slide and note that the Academy is grateful to our patrons. These are consulting firms and utilities who provide financial support that helps support the activities of the Academy. So if you're looking for organizations who are kind of going above and beyond to support the American Academy of Environmental Engineers and Scientists, this is a list of folks that are going out of their way. If you would have an interest in becoming a patron of the Academy, let us know. For utilities, the annual price is $6,000. For consulting firms, the annual price is $8,000. And there's a basket of benefits that go along with being a patron that are more than the cost of the subscription in terms of what you get as an organization. But we are incredibly grateful to these patrons for their support. What we're going to talk about today is some opening and welcome, and you'll notice that we've got a packed agenda. We're going to actually do some introductions by our speakers, and then we're going to get into some details. We're going to switch back and forth between details that are on the Academy's webpage, kind of the formal structure and rules of the organization, and then hear some lived experience, some voice from some of our volunteers. And we're going to go through looking at, the process of what it is to be a volunteer and the structure that we have in place, and then talk about the support that we give, and then drop this all the way down to what it is to be a member and pursue board certification. We're going to have some opportunities. You see there item number 7 and item number 10 to answer any of your questions. So feel free to throw them in the chat, or feel free to hang on to them because we'll have you come off of mute and go ahead and ask your questions as we're going through our event today. Today's purpose is to focus on the vision of the Academy. For those of you that are unaware, the stated purpose of the Academy, its vision, is leadership and excellence in environmental engineering and science. And I've highlighted this word leadership because one of the things that we want to do is help people become better leaders, and we're providing them opportunities to do that. In 2024, the annual plan of the Academy specifically emphasized energizing the Academy's volunteer leadership, including our committees. And in particular, there's 2 things that we've done to try to help that. We have a comprehensive calendar of all the events you can get involved with. This includes the webinars, but this includes even staff meetings and meetings of various committees. So take a look at the Academy's calendar and get plugged in and join in to a future committee meeting to know more about how that committee operates. And the other thing that we've done is put together a very, very comprehensive committee roster that has some descriptions of the different committees and whose members, including the committee chairs, which helps you have people to be able to reach out to if you'd like to get involved. What we're going to do today is start with hearing a little bit from some Academy volunteers, a little bit about their bio, how they've been an Academy leader, some of their reasons to volunteer, and some interesting personal information. And so to template this, I'm going to actually begin with my own personal story. So I'm actually a professor of environmental engineering at the Missouri University of Science and Technology, and I love putting this photo on things. A number of years ago, of course, during COVID, lots of folks grew beards, and I grew this really awesome, what I thought was a really awesome beard. I got a little bit less on top, a little bit more on the face. And when I pushed this out, I thought that had such like a Santa Claus look to it. I love this picture to go to when I want to have something fun. And I wanted to start with this to share that being a volunteer leader in the Academy is about giving back to the organization, but it's an opportunity in particular to do that in a fun way. So I have expertise in biotechnology and humanitarian technology. I've got work as a science diplomat, and I've been board certified since 2005 in water, wastewater. 2018 as a scientist in microbiology, and then recently I secured a second certification in sustainability. I've served as a trustee and a treasurer. I've served as a vice president and president. I've been the Academy's CAPI Distinguished Lecturer. So I guess in some ways you could say like I've tried each of the different roles in the Academy. And why? Well, I think being part of the organization that brings together peers is the right thing. I think professions are defined by how peers interact with each other and how peers promote each other and hold each other to account and help teach each other. And so I think volunteerism and participation as a leader in the Academy is essential to that process. Some other interesting, like little bio sketches. My family's really important to me. My wife happens to be a professor of nursing. Our son is in Boy Scouts. He's a Life Scout, for those of you that follow Scouts and know what those different ranks mean. And our daughter is really active in 4-H. So that's a little bit about me. I have now spotlighted our next speaker. Baron, you're up.
Yes, thank you, Dan. It's not fair that I'm following you with all these accomplishments. So anyway, I will see. I'm Baron Tensel. I'm a professor of environmental engineering. My degree, undergraduate degree, is in chemical engineering. So naturally, I tended towards the hazardous waste area, and my specialty in the academy is in the hazardous waste site remediation area. I do conduct research in coastal environment, oil spills, environmental impacts, ecosystems. I have written books, many publications, scientific publications, and I'm passionate about advancing the skills. Environmental engineering is a very dynamic field. We, as environmental engineers and scientists, I don't know, I guess this is my observation. We pay attention to details in the environment. You know, whenever I go for a walk, a casual walk, I'm paying attention. This is the bird, this is the fly, what's happening here. So naturally, we are detail oriented. That is how, you know, I observe others in my field. So I became certified in 2007. I had an interview at the time. It was a pleasant experience. I met some other board certified practitioners, and I kept in touch, interestingly, since then. And I met them at the interview, but I kept in touch with these, you know, some of them retired now. But it was a wonderful experience to have that interview, being present at that real life situation. And I started my volunteer work as a member of the Water Wastewater Committee. And then I also became a program evaluator for environmental engineering programs. Since I'm in academia, the accreditation is important for the discipline. So I now serve as a commissioner in the Engineering Technology Accreditation Commission. I represent the Academy. And last year, I was elected to Board of Trustees. It is, yes, I'm really humbled by the votes that I received. When people ask me, I never win because my last name is T. I'm always at the end. There are people that with last names A, B, C. So who is going to turn the page and come to T? I said, don't. But I appreciate, serving. I'm honored and humbled by that. And this year, I'm also serving on the Sustainability Committee. If anybody is interested, we have a lot of exciting activities planned, and we are always looking for new members to serve. And there's a lot of opportunities to get officer positions also. These positions are temporary for all of us. And the reason I volunteer, this is a question I had to think about. I never thought about the reason because for me, it seemed to be a natural thing to do. And I used to, whenever people ask me, do you want to do this? And I used to think, quietly in my head, what is in it for me? Quietly, what am I going to get out of it? And then first time I volunteered, and I said, wow, this is what I'm missing, because I felt the exposure to a lot of experts. There is this wealth of knowledge and experience of people who are ready or willing to be within my reach. So I enjoy that type of friendship. It's not a competitive type of friendship that usually we see in business environment, but it is more of a supportive. I call, ask anyone, anytime, and it's, I trust opinions of the members. So that is, I think, for me, uh, a wonderful reason, having this support system. Anytime I need help, if I have a question, I know there's wealth of experience, and because our field is so dynamic, I enjoy getting that, up to date, cutting edge information. I'm professor using books. Books were written, somebody started writing these books 10 years ago. By the time they get published, it's old knowledge and things have changed. So some of the things that are happening now, that they are not in the books. So that is, for me, that is a wonderful, priceless resource, having this network of colleagues who are willing to help me anytime I have a question. So that is my reason.
Baron, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. Thanks so much. We're going to switch over. Bill Butler is our next volunteer to speak. Bill, the platform's yours, my friend.
Okay. Well, just right now, so everybody knows, I am a partner and senior engineer with Newfields, based in Atlanta, but I actually live in Panama City Beach, Florida. But I've been doing this stuff for 36 years, all in the site investigation, remediation space, super fun, record corrective action, brownfield redevelopment, voluntary cleanup programs, managing UST programs, the whole gamut, but pretty much all site investigation and remediation. And I think it's important for me, for people to know who I am. The two things I put there under the bio that really pump me up about what I'm doing day in and day out. And that is, I really enjoy doing good work for my clients. And when they come back and say, man, you've really helped me, that was awesome, that makes me feel great. That just gets me excited about wanting to do more of that work. And the other big part about it is, we work with a lot of young people, especially as you move on in your careers, and you look back at all these young people that are coming on board, and knowing that I've had some way, some small amount have had an impact on their careers and helped them in their journeys. That's really fun and exciting to me, because they're the next level of leaders that are going to come up behind us. So we really need to encourage them to come on. So those things really excite me. How I got involved with the Academy was back in the early 90s, when I had first joined ERM. And matter of fact, I saw Ed Van Kuren on there. We used to work together back in 88 and 89, then again in the early 2000s when I came back to ERM for my second tour of duty. But one of the things I saw at that point was there was a lot of people who had their diplomat environmental engineer certification. So of course I'm like, what's that about? And as I learned about it, that seemed like a really good credential to get for someone in our field. It's opportunities to learn things, it's opportunities to network, and it's an opportunity to get recognized by your peers if you have those credentials. And when I first heard of it, I didn't have the 8 years of experience yet they originally looked for before you could get your DEE. But they introduced a program for people who didn't have their 8 years yet, but they could still join as, I forget what they called, an interim or an intern environmental engineer, an associate environmental engineer, whatever it was. I jumped in right at that point, and then as soon as I could get my credentials by taking that written exam and the oral exam, I jumped on it. And that goes back to, sometime in the late 90s when I got that. I've been involved throughout the years trying to get involved in different activities. But one of the things that I spent a lot of time doing was they have for the oral examinations, each state would run their own oral examination times, usually once, sometimes twice a year. And they're always looking for volunteers to serve as examiners in that. So I always stepped up to serve as an examiner and a proctor. Eventually, I was leading some of that and encouraging more people to help out with it. So that led me to keep staying involved with the organization. And then just recently, there was the opportunity for me to get involved with the site remediation committee. And the former chair, Jim Fitzgerald, who I used to work with at ERM as well, he saw that I put my name in the hat and we had a conversation, and he thought it'd be great for me to get involved in the committee. So I immediately jumped on and said, yeah, I definitely want to be involved with it. And unfortunately, for those of you who may or may not know Jim Fitzgerald, he passed away earlier this year. And so all of a sudden, this committee, which was making a lot of progress under his leadership, now had nobody to lead it and nobody to step up at that moment. So I volunteered to take it on, recognizing that it's going to be a bit of a challenge, because I'm not familiar with how the group works or what are our activities, initiatives, what are we trying to achieve. But Dan's been a big help, kind of coaching me on the side, and the whole committee's been fantastic at working with me and understanding that. But we've been moving forward, getting a lot of things going, especially now taking a look at the oral and written exams and seeing if they need to be updated. And so I'm looking forward to continuing in this role as the chairperson. And one of the reasons why I like doing this, not only for the Academy, but in other organizations that I've been part of, I think, the reasons we get involved with these organizations are we want to have an opportunity to learn new things. We want to be able to network with our peers who practice in our same spaces. And, we obviously want to get ourselves out there and brand it to potential, like for us in consulting, to clients. And we want to be able to network or roll up our sleeves and work alongside those folks. And, so these are the things that I feel like in order to do that, you can't just join something and pay your dues every year. You have to get actively engaged. And because if it's not for people who are stepping up, volunteering, getting actively engaged, these organizations struggle to survive, because you got to have these people doing all this work behind the scenes, and you've got to drive it. So I look at everybody on our committee. Yeah, I may be the chairperson, but everybody on that committee is demonstrating leadership and stepping up and doing what needs to be done. So I'm really excited to work with this group and move forward. And then you can see all the different things I like to do. I like to brag most about my 3 daughters. I am incredibly proud of everything they've achieved and impressed. My oldest daughter, she's got her doctorate in physical therapy. She decided after working for a practice for a year and didn't like that at all. She basically hung her own hat and started her own PT business. And now she's doing great with that. My other daughter's following her passion in marine science, and she's in Georgia. She works at the Georgia Aquarium in their health center, where they actually, yes, fish need medical care. So she works with that group there. And also fish do retire, and they give them a nice retirement plan out of the main tank. And then my youngest just graduated with her master's from University of Montana, and she's currently working an internship. Matter of fact, she had to travel to Denver today for a meeting where she gets to lead a presentation for an oil and gas exploration client, with some work that they're doing. And so a lot of fun.
Bill, thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here and what you were able to share with us. Thank you so much. What we're going to do is now move into a few little details of our agenda. We're going to come back and hear more from Baron and Bill as we kind of talk through things. But we want to take you through a few things about First of all, kind of the structure of the academy. A lot of folks may not understand all the different roles and all the different things that are there. And so we're going to unpack these kind of piece by piece over the next couple of minutes, just to make sure that everybody can understand how this organization is set up. So the academy was established 69 years ago. Tomorrow is our 70th anniversary. Our next year is our 70th anniversary. And what I'm going to do is just walk you through some of the structure that we've got. First of all, as an organization, a 501c6, right? So the Academy's mission is to promote environmental engineering and science as a trade association. We are not a C3. We're not a not-for-profit to raise money. We're a C6. We're a not-for-profit to promote the practice and education and and licensure and board certificate of environmental engineers and scientists. That's our purpose. And the board of trustees are the ones that have ultimate responsibility for the operation of the organization, and they're guided by our constitution, our bylaws, and then our policies and procedures manual. And on a daily basis, right, the board of trustees meet 4 times a year, once a quarter, for a 4-hour meeting via Zoom. On a day-to-day basis, the staff is managed by the executive director, which is the role I'm in. And we have a number of committees that support those kind of day-to-day operation. First of all, the president and I meet every week. The executive committee joins us every other week. So if you're a trustee that rises to the level of being the president, you're looking at kind of weekly meetings. If you're an executive committee member, you're looking at bi-weekly meetings. So that's 25 meetings a year. And then you think about the other committees that are responsible for like essential roles, right? The finance committee, the nominating committee, the planning and major partners committee. Most of those committees are chaired by an officer from the board of trustees, whether it's the vice president or past president or president-elect or treasurer. And then there's some opportunities for you to get involved in terms of leadership. And those are about the other 20 committees that are available in the organization. Everything from issuing awards and auditing the books, from promoting education and government affairs and outreach, international relation. But then one of the ones that's been talked about here is the role that folks have in educating and having networking, like seminars and workshops, like publications, like reaching out to students and young professionals. So each of those committees have chairs and deputy chairs or co-chairs and opportunities for you to serve a role on those committees. So if you're looking for places to plug in and gain leadership, those are a fantastic place to be able to kind of cut your teeth and get started. The other place that we have expertise is in our board certification. So of course, being a member of the Academy means that you're a student or you're an emerging professional or you're somebody who's not yet board certified. And the goal of the Academy is to aspire to encourage people to get to board certification. And just like at the federal government, the interest rate is set by an arm's length entity, the Federal Reserve. Board certification is issued by an arm length entity. The American Academy of Environmental Engineers Certification Board certifies the BCEE and the BCEEM. And the American Academy of Environmental Engineers and Scientists Certification Board certifies the BCES. So those individuals that serve on the 7 individuals on each of those committee to make the peer decision about board certification. They make the final decision. So it is not the board of trustees who decides who's board certified. It's these groups of volunteer leaders. Now, to help feed into that process of board certification, we have an admissions committee and a recertification committee that looks at people after the fact. But then one of the places, and Bill and Barron both touched on this, another place where your expertise can shine is in our expertise and exam committees. So for example, Bill mentioned the site remediation committee and Barron mentioned the sustainability committee. Those are committees of subject matter experts that meet to advance that subject matter within the Academy. And one of their jobs is to help review the exams that's used to verify people that are board certified, the written and oral exam material. Then another group that's there is the Eminence Committee. This is a group of distinguished individuals who evaluate other distinguished individuals to bring them into the Academy via the Eminence pathway. And we're going to unpack a little bit more about what this board certification means in a couple of more slides, but I just wanted to paint what is the overall picture. So if you look at this, you're literally looking at more than 100 different spots to be able to serve. And you're looking at, 35 to 40 leadership positions just right there on an annual basis across all of these different committees and all of these different ways to serve. So plenty of opportunity for folks to get plugged in. What we're going to talk about now is to actually kind of drill into the details. Bill and Barron already talked about this a little bit. And what I want to do is I want to say, I want to say to Bill and I want to say to Barron, and so I'm going to add all three of us to the spotlight. Some of these folks might be thinking about like, hey, I want to volunteer, I want to get involved. So Bill, let's go to you first, and then Barron, like, what does it mean to be on a committee? How often do they meet? I mean, does it mean you have to travel? Is it an expensive thing? Like, Bill, what's been your experience and what's it like working on those committees? And then Barron, we're going to turn to you. Bill, if you can speak a little bit more to your site remediation committee experience, and Barron, if you can speak a little bit more to the education and board of trustees a little bit. So Bill, let's go to you first.
So yeah, since getting involved with the committee earlier this year, I think I went to the first meeting in March or April, I can't recall. But so far they meet once a month. We meet for about an hour at a time. My job, what I try to do is get together the agenda ahead of time and any materials back out to the group so they have a chance to take a look at it before we get to the call. And then, during the meeting, I try to capture a lot of notes, but I also ask others to help me out with some of that. And then, we'll follow up with the meeting minutes and capture all the action items that we've all agreed to. And then we just keep that routine up when we come back the next month. We're going to follow up on those action items, where we're at and the different initiatives we have ongoing. For example, right now we're going through a pretty thorough review of the existing oral and written exam questions. And we've broken the group up into two separate work groups to do that, because it is quite a bit of work. And then we're going to set a realistic time frame for getting that done. Recognize it, we all have day jobs. So I would imagine that, I might spend, maybe 8 hours a month on academy stuff as the chair. But other folks, they probably spend at least 4 hours a month on academy activities, sometimes more if there's trying to get a bunch of stuff done before our next call. But it's usually no more than 8 hours worth of work in between each of those meetings to contribute, depending on how eager you are and how hungry you are to take on more and your available time.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate that. Barron, if you can speak a little bit about the education committee and then your
Sure.
experience with the board of trustees.
Yeah, so I've been a member of the education committee last 5 years. Education committee has a chair. David Chin is the chair of the education committee. To be a member, it's kind of a selective group. The members consist of the commissioners that represent the academy at ABET for accreditation purposes. The academy has, I believe, 5 commissioners in the engineering accreditation commission, 1 commission in the engineering technology, and 1 commissioner in the applied natural sciences commission. So we are about maybe perhaps 12 or so people. There are also some past commissioners on the committee. We meet when there are some issues about the accreditation process or some of the interpretation of the program criteria. We also periodically review the program criteria. Right now, the ABET visits, accreditation visits, this is the season, September to December timeframe every year. The ABET sends teams to schools. The schools that have environmental engineering programs get one of the program evaluators who are members of the academy. So in order to be a program evaluator, one has to be a member of the academy and go through some training. I recommend for some people who are interested in being a program evaluator for the academy, for the environmental engineering programs or technology programs or environmental science programs, that is a very interesting an enjoyable experience. We go to schools, you go to anywhere that has an environmental engineering program. That committee usually meets before the reviews start, and after the reviews, programs are reviewed. We evaluate what the program evaluators wrote in their reports, and we give our report whether the program evaluator did a great job or maybe may need some improvements in the review process. Also, these program criteria, it's kind of open-ended. It's open to interpretation. So there are some questions during the evaluation process that come up. So we also discuss that. Some of these questions are not easy to answer because every program is different. In environmental engineering, some programs have agriculture focus. Some programs have coastal engineering type of focus. Some programs have ecology sort of focus. So it is very different, location specific. It's not very intensive committee in as far as the work, the meetings go. But program evaluator, that activity is on a yearly basis. I think it is about, I would guess, maybe 60 to 70 hours, because you are going on site and you review a program, interview, and then there's a little bit of work upfront that needs to be done. But it is very satisfying experience. And I recommend it because we are always looking for very detailed oriented program evaluators to represent the academy. So I am also on the board of trustees. This is my first year on the board of trustees. That work is, since I'm new, I'm learning as things go, and Dan is doing amazing job putting together the agenda, the documents that needs to be discussed during the meetings. I believe we meet every other month. You can correct me, Dan. That's the Board of Trustees.
It's quarterly. It feels like every other month, though, doesn't it?
Well, okay, quarterly. But there are some, questions and some things come up. Board meetings usually, it's kind of long because we have a lot. Since it's quarterly, there's a lot of items on the agenda that require voting, discussions, and we have very collegial group, Board of Trustees. And I learn a lot from the discussions, even though I think I know my discipline. I always learn something. It's very satisfying discussion for me just to observe the exchange of ideas in a very collegial way. That is not a lot of work as far as I'm concerned, but just before the Board of Trustee meeting, there is quite a few attachments that needs to be reviewed. So some, in the order of maybe 14 to 16 attachments. These are items that needs to be discussed. It could be 10, depending on the issues that came up. But it's an enjoyable experience. So when I put the hours, it seems like, oh, this is so long, but it doesn't seem that way to me, because the meeting, the discussion is so lively and engaging, and people are so friendly, and there is this kind of funny in a way. Sometimes people share their experiences and stories, and it makes it really very enjoyable for me. Even though it may be like an entire afternoon, it's like a fast going afternoon, in my opinion, the meetings. From my end, Dan, maybe for you, it's slower.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Well, and of course, you're right, Baron, because there's probably 50 to 75 pages, if not more, to read ahead of time. But you do get a whole week to read it, including the weekends. But no, I really appreciate Bill and Baron like speaking to these committees. I'm going to explain a little bit about some of the overview of some of the Academy rules and resources, and then we'll come back to a little bit more of interacting with the two of you. And so one of the things that I want to make people aware of is that the Academy's website is very rich. we have a homepage that on the left-hand side of the homepage has a tab that says About the Academy. And the first item in that tab is some of our guiding documents. And for those of you that aren't aware, the Academy's got bylaws, 21-page document that lays out how we operate. We have a policy and procedure manual, a 217-page document that has every last detail you could ever possibly imagine. We have a 5-year strategic plan, which currently we're in the first year of. This goes through 2029. We produce an annual plan, which the Board of Trustees approves and says, here's what I want to work on in the next year. And I actually, in the role of executive director, working with the president, execute that annual plan for the 12 months. And then we actually produce a summary report at the end of the year that explains everything the Academy's accomplished in the prior year. And so all of those documents are all publicly available to you as members to be able to look and make sure that we're doing good things and being good stewards of your resources, your membership dues that you're paying. In terms of the bylaws, I just want to highlight a few kind of high-level items. The Board of Trustees includes an elected vice president who then is reconfirmed by the membership to become the president-elect. So we put 2 individuals forward as vice president. The membership votes. Whoever gets the most votes becomes vice president. That individual is put on the ballot a second time for the membership next year to say, yes, we want them to be president-elect. That's more of a yes-no vote. And then once somebody is the president-elect, they automatically assume the role of president the following year and past president the year after. So between vice president, president-elect, president, and past president, you're serving 4 years in a leadership role, which means that when we have leadership discussions and decisions made, there's at least 4 individuals who are all working together to help make those decisions. There's an appointed treasurer, which is a 3-year position. There are 6 elected trustees. They serve for a 3-year term. So there's 2 that are elected every year. Our ballot normally has anywhere between 4 and 6 individuals, and the people who receive the 2 highest number of votes, those are the ones that get the elected position. There are also appointed trustees who come from our sponsoring organizations, like the Water Environment Federation, the American Society of Civil Engineers, the Air and Waste Management Association, the American Public Health Association, Solid Waste. So there are these sponsoring organization trustees. So those are our sister organizations who say to our Board of Trustees, here's an individual we'd like to nominate to represent us. So if you are very active in a sister organization and you have good relationships with their executive director, their Board of Trustees, their decision makers, perhaps one way onto the Board of Trustees is as a sponsoring organization trustee, a conduit to a sister organization. Alternatively, you can move up through the elected process within the Academy. Now, a few things. The members of the Board of Trustees should all be board certified individuals. So it's important to aspire towards board certification. Not all leadership positions require board certification, but our trustees of the Academy, which is aspiring to board certification for everyone, requires people to be board certified. The vice president, the person who's going to eventually rise to the role of president, has to have served previously either as a Board of Trustee member or a committee chair. And so everybody who's in the role of president has already demonstrated not just a reasonable commitment to the Academy, but a leadership commitment to the Academy. And then the committees, the individual chairs and the individual members of the committee, they're appointed by the president with input from the executive committee and in some case, concurrence by the Board of Trustees. And so the president and the staff and I work together to come up with some suggested names. In the bi-weekly meetings with the executive committees, we discuss those. And then quarterly, when we're meeting with the Board of Trustees, we keep people informed and engaged. Importantly, if you're interested in a committee, whether it's Bill, who very quickly chaired a committee, or Barron, who's working on invigorating the Sustainability Committee, you can actually go to our Policies and Procedures manual, where in section I, we actually have a description of what each committee is supposed to be doing. Now, I say supposed to be because it's obviously a 217-page document maintained by volunteers. So parts of it, some of them are more detailed and more up to date. Some of them are a little bit long in the tooth and could stand some updating. But in principle, what your role is and what your responsibilities are spelled out in the Policy and Procedure Manual. So what we're going to talk about next is a little bit of Baron and Bill's experience with working with the staff, myself and the other members of the staff. How are we supporting your work? How do volunteers work together? How do the IT resources, our membership database, our websites, our videos, how do those things help support you? Let's go with Baron first and then Bill, and then we're going to have an opportunity for questions from our audience. So Baron, if you can speak a little bit, and then Bill, about your engagement with the Academy, and how does the staff and how do our resources help support you in your volunteer leadership role?
Sure. The committees are successful because of the good support we have through the officers, through you, Dan, and then through the support staff. And everything, there's a formality in the process. It's a friendly group, but everything has certain formalities, certain activities need to follow certain procedures. Meetings need to, have to be recorded in terms of minutes, and who is attending, who is not attending. There's the officer list. So in terms of membership, when I became the chair of the Sustainability Committee, I was a member of the Sustainability Committee in the prior years. The Academy has a list of members who are interested in being a member of that committee. So that is, when I requested the list, and as we meet and through various activities, we have added additional people into the Sustainability Committee. And in terms of support, I'm really impressed. Whenever I have a question, Dan, you answer, before I don't know, sometimes I don't remember if I hit the return to send the email. I see the answer, you must be right there at the keyboard responding to my emails, whenever how do I do this? What do I need to do? Where is this? And also, I appreciated you coming to the first meeting, laying out the structure and expectations. We have a draft mission statement for the Sustainability Committee, and then we are working. What is our mission? What do we want to accomplish? How do we make this committee to be more visible? How do we make the expertise within the Sustainability Committee bring awareness to this expertise, at the larger sense, the sustainability expertise. So I think you have provided excellent guidance during our first meeting, and setting up the expectations and giving us the flashlight, I guess. This is the path, you need to follow. And I appreciated that a lot. So I appreciate the staff support, your support, Dan. My highest appreciation words for
Thanks,
your
Baron.
staff.
You're very kind. You're very kind. I appreciate you very much. That we have a fantastic staff, don't we? Bill, you've interacted with some of those staff in different ways. So what's been your experience? Part of this is to help our potential volunteers understand what we can do as a staff, but then there's also limitations because we're a fairly small, nimble group as well. So
yeah, I mean, so far, look, you've been a great support behind the scenes helping out. You were very good at twisting my arm very early on as well, so you're good at that. I would also want to really call out, I think Yolanda's on the call. She is an absolute rock star. She's been there helping me figure my way around or getting past information. If it wasn't for her, it would be very tough for me to kind of get things moving along without totally reinventing the wheel. So she's been great. And that's real. I haven't had a lot of chances to interact with a lot of the other folks in the Academy yet, but so far it's been great.
perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So one of the things we want to do is take a little bit of a pause here from Death by PowerPoint. So I'm going to actually stop sharing that. And I'm going to ask folks, if you'd like to ask a question, please let us know. So I'm going to pull the spotlights off of our speakers here. and turn this open so that anyone that would like to ask a question, please just go ahead and shout out. There's a function at the bottom. You can raise your hand if you want. I'll note that Edward asked, please expand a little bit on sustainability and what you're working on. I see that Andy's got one in here that says, I'm new to the Academy and thanks to the speakers. It's a late night in that region. So maybe Baron, if you want to speak a little bit about what's going on in sustainability, but others, please feel free to come off mute and we'll take some questions. Down at the bottom, for those of you that aren't familiar, you can actually raise your hand under that little heart looking react. You can actually raise your hand and that's a way for us to be able to know that you would like to be called on. So.
Yeah, this is an excellent question. What is sustainability? Actually, we are, as a committee, we are also working on the definition of sustainability. What is the scope of sustainability? Because it is a little abstract. And the sustainability, the term is sometimes I feel overused. It sounds good. And we need to define the scope of sustainability for our purposes, for environmental engineers and scientists. What does it mean for us in the professional sense? So the committee is working on some refinement. How do we define it? How do we measure it? If there's the sustainability, once we define it, how do we measure if we are sustainable or not? And that is one of the areas that the committee is working. Committee is also working, as Dan mentioned, the examination, the certification for sustainability. We have a bank of questions. There's, how do we do this certification process? Another one of our goals is to bring visibility to the expertise in the sustainability area for the members, because we have all these members, all this expertise who are working in the sustainability area. And we need to bring some visibility that we have this resource available. And another activity that we are working on is we are planning to do webinars, these multi-person webinars, and we are hoping that there will be maybe 3-4 experts from different types of industries and backgrounds addressing specific areas of sustainability. What does it mean as far as the climate change? What does it mean, sustainability when there's this climate change? Or what does it mean in terms of waste management? Or what does it mean in terms of land use? So we have some topics, areas where we would like to put some focus and get some different opinions or expertise discussions, lively discussions, hopefully, from people from government, from industry, perhaps from academia, or it could be all industry, all 3-4 representatives could be all industry. We just like to get these discussions to explore a little bit and also learn. And then once we have these webinars, hopefully we will write a little bit what was discussed, what was the outcome, and then perhaps compile this knowledge that was shared during the webinars. So that's what we have been working on.
Perfect. Thanks all. Bill, you have anything you wanted to add on what you're doing in site remediation? Otherwise, we'll hop back in and run through a few more slides and see if people have any other questions.
No, there's really nothing else to add. I mean, as I mentioned before, our focus right now is reviewing and updating those oral and written exams. So we're pretty just getting started in that.
Digging in with both feet, right? So, exactly. So let me go back and.
If I may add, so Sustainability Committee, since this is a sort of reactivated committee, we are also looking for ideas. I'm interested in this. So, we have expertise, but again, within our umbrella, we want to grow our expertise, and then we want to also get some ideas, input, from the members. This is an area that I like you to perhaps to look into, maybe conduct a webinar on this specific topic. So we are looking for input from the members. Sustainability Committee doesn't work in isolation because we are part of the members and we are always looking for input, for ideas, and also for members. and suggestions for members, suggestions for activities to tackle in the future.
Perfect.
And maybe there's some opportunities too for, sustainable remediation is certainly a big part of remediation. So maybe there's opportunities to work together on some things between the two committees.
Great minds coming together, right? That's what these are all about, these fun connections. So just a little bit of details to remind people about how the Academy operates. If we think back to how the Academy has been in the past, for those of you that like the Lord of the Rings series, right? The Thou Shalt Not Pass. There's a little bit of a history of that. The Academy was about kind of keeping people out until you were good enough to pass a test. I don't want to overgeneralize, but maybe there was a little bit of a feeling that the Academy was a bit of an exclusive group. And while that's not wrong or bad, I think what we want to focus on is that we're being very intentional now, maybe with the, using Dwight Schrute from The Office, we're now a mentor of sorts. And I love this little meme, right? The rising tide lifts all boats, sunken boats are unaffected by tides. But the point is we don't want sunken boats. We want to be a mentor and help lift everyone up. And what does that look like? Well, first of all, if you're a student, you can be a member of the Academy for free. So if you know students out there, have them sign up. If they're an undergrad student, yes. If they're a graduate student, yes. If they're an overseas student, yes. If they're a part-time student, yes. If they're studying civil engineering, environmental engineering, microbiology, climate change, geoscience, yes, 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 yes. So please do encourage students to sign up. It is free to be a student member, and you have full access to our webinars and our publications. So encourage students to sign up. Also, we give our student members 1 year of regular membership for free as a graduation gift. That helps us transition people from being student mindset to being actual members. Membership is $125 a year. Anyone who holds a degree that would allow them to be a student member can be a member once they've graduated and they're working or teaching in environmental engineering and science. So what if you're working for a consulting firm? Yes. What if you're working for a utility? Yes. What if you're hanging up your own shingle and working for yourself? Yes. If you go out and look at our sister organizations, you will find their membership fees are almost twice this. The Academy offers you everything from solid waste and site remediation to air pollution, environmental microbiology, and wastewater treatment, all in a single organization for only $125 a year. The value proposition of access to technical content across the whole breadth of environmental engineering for this kind of price makes it a no-brainer to attend the Academy as a member. We have at least a dozen to 2 dozen webinars every year. So just from a continuing professional development standpoint across the breadth of environmental engineering, you're not going to find anywhere else where you're going to get this content for as an affordable a price. Now, we do want people to aspire to board certification. What does that look like? It's membership plus some experience and some examination. So if you're a licensed engineer, we're looking for 8 additional years of experience, 4 of those in responsible charge. And if you're a scientist, we're looking for 8 years of additional experience beyond your degree, with 4 of those in responsible charge. What does responsible charge mean? Well, NCEES has a model law. What do we mean by responsible charge for an engineer? And here's the language from it. The professional engineer in responsible charge is actively engaged in the engineering process from conception to completion. Engineering decisions must be personally made by the professional engineer. They must review drawings or documents after preparation. Without involvement in the process design is not satisfactory. You can't just stamp somebody else's work. You've got to be engaged in the work. What does that mean practically for engineers? It means that you are doing engineering of somebody else's engineering. You are supervising. You are providing an extra level of expertise as somebody in responsible charge. What does that mean practically for the scientist? Well, you're no longer just doing a QA/QC in a lab. You're now the lab manager overseeing the QA/QC process for other people. That's what we mean by responsible charge, is that you are responsible now as an owner of the output from your work. If you are a graduate student, you can get credit for your work experience for 12 months. If you're getting your PhD, you can get 24 additional months. That means that while you're getting your master's and your PhD, you can get 3 years of work experience credit. Of course, you're not in responsible charge generally at that stage. You're doing work, but it's 3 years towards your 4 years of work experience. And then you need 4 additional years in responsible charge. If you have more than 16 years of experience, let's say you're further along in your career, you can request a waiver from the written exam. In other words, just ask a couple of peers to look at you as part of the oral exam. It's not an easier process because obviously you had to work 16 years, but it is a process that is available to those that have that experience. And then finally, we have an eminence process. And you have to have 20 years of experience, but here's where it's a little bit different. 10 of those years need to be not just responsible charge, but where you're clearly a leader in your practice. So do not view the eminence pathway as a quick and easy way into the academy because you've had 20 years. View the eminence pathway as something where folks really have set themselves apart via eminence. So 8 years is the kind of normal path. 16, you can ask for an exemption from the written exam. And if you've been a leader for more than 10 years with 20 years of work experience, you can pursue eminence pathway. So to kind of summarize this, student members, you're enrolled as a student, free membership. Members, you're graduated and working, $125 a year. Board certification, at least 8 years of working, 4 of those in responsible charge, $225 a year. And if you've got more than 20 years of experience, you could consider pursuing eminence. And so what we've talked about today is board certification all the way through from being a leader all the way through to board certification. And so the question, I guess, for Baron and Bill, who are both board certified like myself, what's the value of board certification? Is it fame? Is it fortune? Is it the right thing to do? What were your role models? Bill, we'll start with you first. Give us just a little snippet about how board certification has been of value to you. And then Baron, we're going to come to you with that same question.
For me, it's about recognition by your peers as being somebody who has that certification, who's recognized as somebody who, I hate to use the term expert, but say competent individual in the practice of site remediation. Originally, it was hazardous waste management. So for me, that is one of the reasons why I got involved with the academy to begin with, is because it requires the credentials, it requires the years of experience, it requires the written oral exams. It just gives it more meaning so that when either you're looking for another job or you're submitting a proposal to a client and they see you have those credentials, in a lot of cases, that means something to the client, that, okay, I'm hiring a qualified person, someone who cares enough about their profession to go out and get these credentials.
Thanks, Bill. Baron, thoughts on board certification?
For me, I think the opportunity to network, to be able to network with the experts in my field. And the second one is, since I'm from academia, in academia, the environmental engineering program criteria requires that the faculty should have the credentials to teach design courses, the topics appropriate to environmental engineering. So the board certification is the seal of that expertise. Once you're board certified, there is no question about your qualifications, whether you can teach a specific course or not. So for me, these are just two areas, but multiple reasons. Another reason, through committee activities, I learned so many skills. I gained so many skills. Organization, keeping the meetings, agendas to a minimum, various skills that we do not normally teach at school. So I appreciated gaining that kind of skill through the activities.
Thanks, Baron. Appreciate it. For those of you that want to know more about board certification, there is a a 6-minute, 40-second Pachachka presentation or PK presentation that I did with Professor Aaron Bivens a couple of months ago, where he explains the process. And for those of you that have an interest in understanding it a little bit further, we actually run a separate 1-hour webinar where we specifically answer people's questions about what it is to pursue board certification, because it can feel like a little bit of an intimidating thing. I noticed that some folks have got some hands up, and I noticed there's some in the chat. I just wanted to remind that here's an opportunity for us to kind of pull down us as experts, talking heads, and make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to have something to say. And so, Basil, I see that you've got your hand up, so I'm going to remove these spotlights. Would you like to come up and let us know what you'd like to hear about?
Yeah, thank you, Dan. Thank you very much, Bill and Bern. It's been a really enlightening webinar. I've been certified since 1998, and I was working in academia and I was working in chemical industry. Nonetheless, I joined the United Nations in the year 2001, and I've been away from the country for a while. Indeed, I lost contact with the academy for almost 20-some years. In 2021, I was asked to serve on the Committee of International Outreach. We had few meetings, and after that, it seems like it faded away. If we are talking about sustainability, I think keeping the academy only in the US is not the optimum sustainable way forward. I think we have to have a strategy for reaching out to other countries, to international professionals who are qualified to join the academy. And one of the ideas that we have discussed at that time is to have some kind of partnership or joint venture with the UN organizations, for example, the United Nations Environment Program. And these ideas have been discussed in the committee, and I was really willing to be the bridge during that time to help in this regard. Nonetheless, none of these ideas have materialized, unfortunately. And now I just retired last year, and now I am residing in Florida. Nonetheless, I have more time now to volunteer and do some work. Next year I'll be the EVET evaluator, and I'll be happy to carry out this very important task. But at the same time, I think the idea of international reach out is very important for the academy, especially when we are talking about sustainability. Thank you.
Awesome, Basil. Great.
Was that, did I hear correctly that you like to be a member of the Sustainability Committee for leading the international outreach efforts? Did I hear that?
Yeah, well, I would like to work on the international arena, but nonetheless, if it is within the Sustainability Committee, that would be great.
Yeah, super. So I'm putting your name down. I will get the contact information. Thank you. Great. Because we want to expand. Yeah.
I was going to say, Baron, we've got him recorded, so we know that he's committed to this. So, be careful.
Yeah, you have it on record now.
Yeah. Great.
Fantastic. I'll note that we've got a couple of questions in the chat, and I'll just mention these. One says, I'm a PhD student from India. Am I eligible to be involved in our activities via Zoom? And the answer, Raju, is 100%. Yes, we welcome you to be involved. Yes, you can be a member of the Academy for free while you're studying your PhD in India. And yes, we'd love to have you be a member. Basil, to your point, we actually use the 125 is our membership dues, but we actually use the UN World Bank upper, middle, and upper middle income and upper income gradient to be able to adjust dues. So Raju, coming from India, you would actually, when you go to move into membership, actually have an adjusted dues structure. It would start at the 125, but then we make an adjustment based on the World Bank income levels for countries. And so, yes, you absolutely have a place here in the Academy. Keith said he's going to have to bounce to another meeting, but he said he's very interested in learning about the Sustainability Committee. So Baron, we're going to have another name, Keith Thompson, to come in and chat with you. But Keith's also mentioned that he's interested in a second area of certification. I had just talked to Baron and Bill at the beginning in the green room. I'm actually now certified in both sustainability and water supply, because I think sustainability is this emerging area where it's good to have an additional certification. It is $50 to have a second certification. So if you're in site remediation, or if you're in water, wastewater, and you'd like to add sustainability on, whether via eminence or whether via examination, you go through the same process to be evaluated. But if you are certified in a second specialty, you pay a $50 additional specialty fee, not another $225, just $50. So I'll just mention that. And then Matthew made the comment he was one of those that had held off on joining because he was pursuing certification, and now he's excited about the fact that the organization's also including students. So thank you for that encouragement, Matthew. We really appreciate that. Well, I'm cognizant of the time, and I know that we are coming up on, a few minutes after the hour. Bill and Baron, any kind of final words or comments or wisdom you'd like to leave this group with? Bill, we'll come to you first, and then Baron, you second. Bill, anything you'd like to share with folks?
I just, first of all, thank you for all your interest in potentially getting involved with the Academy, specifically getting involved with some of these committees. Again, my main message is whatever you decide to do to become part of this organization, other organizations, get engaged, get involved in the committees, get involved in doing things, because nothing happens without people volunteering to get this stuff done. That's what makes it successful. That's what makes it rewarding for all of us. So there's my message.
Fantastic message. Baron?
Yes, I always say, we all need, all of us are stronger. We need larger committees, as Bill mentioned, actively engaged people, and we need diversity in the committees, diversity in terms of ideas, in terms of backgrounds, in terms of perspectives. It creates good, lively discussions for us. So we are looking to expand the committees, and these committees are evolving. Having this mission statement of the committee for this year, it's not cast in stone. It will change, as sustainability committee is. It's dynamic, depending on the membership. And I enjoy volunteering. It seems my husband asked me, why do you spend so much time on these? But I enjoy the company so much. I enjoy, and after each meeting, I feel certain satisfaction, fulfillment. It's priceless, for me to have that type of experience.
Well, Bill and Baron, thank you so much for joining as panelists today. So grateful for you and for you taking time out. We're just going to move here to our slide that we use for closing up. And so I will say thank you for attending today. And if you'd like to attend the next event for the Academy, take a look at our webinar schedule. We post it on AAEES.org events. If you'd like to watch this event, there you go, Baron. I appreciate your switch to that. Umbrellas as your background. Very nice. A recording of today's event will be available on our website in a couple of weeks. We post these on YouTube and then have a link. We will email PDH certificates for those who are eligible for those for attending. And if you have any questions, please reach out to our Director of Marketing, Marissa Waterman. That is MWATERMAN, M Waterman at AAEES.org. Baron and Bill, once again, thank you for your time, and everybody that joined to hear about volunteer and leadership with the Academy. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you all.
All right. Take care, everybody. Bye.